The Carolina Storyteller is a campfire-style storytelling podcast covering ghost stories, legends, and true crime. Some content may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Joe folks, I'm Jonathan Phoenix, your Carolina Storyteller. Today's story is going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about a lake that was built in the 1950s and has since claimed over 200 lives. But before we get into all that, I want to drop a little reminder for you. A couple of little reminders and a shout out. We're going to do a shout out first to the Killing 15 podcast who subscribed to our Patreon recently. Thank you. They joined the likes of Dragon Kovac, Adrian Nina, and Nikki Klein, Truth or Demons podcast. All you guys, thanks for supporting the Patreon. Thanks for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. It really does help. And the reason I bring up my Patreon supporters is that we're still doing the giveaway. There's still time right now for you to go to patreon.com/Carolina Storyteller and join the Patreon and get in on the 50th episode giveaway. June 1st is my 50th episode. I'm going to be giving away books. I'm going to be giving away hats. I'm going to be giving away stickers. I've even decided that I'm giving away a guest spot on the show where you can be on the show and presenting your story instead of mine. Oh no, what if someone's a better storyteller than me? What if they take over my show? What if people stop liking me? Oh wait, people don't like me already. Well, nothing to worry about. The next announcement is that May 4th and 5th, Atomicon is coming up. Atomicon is going to be held in North Charleston, South Carolina. If you're in the area, you should definitely go. There are all kinds of panels. There's going to be all kinds of vendors. There's going to be all kinds of authors and artists, and cosplay contest. I'm hosting Name That Book. That's right, me, Jonathan Phoenix, the storyteller, is hosting Name That Book. I'm even doing a live episode from Atomicon that won't be coming out on this until much later. So the only way you're going to see it live is if either A, you're tuning in on the internet where we're broadcasting live, or B, if you're at Atomicon there with me as I'm doing the podcast. So you definitely want to go to Atomicon May 4th and 5th. It's a Saturday and Sunday from 10 to like 5 or whenever. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of guests. There's going to be a lot of activities. I'm going to be there. Some other podcasters are going to be there. There's even going to be a complete panel on LaVanya Fisher. I'm not hosting it, but I am attending because this person is the person for LaVanya Fisher. So, May 4th and 5th this year in North Charleston, Atomicon. Be there. Or, you're going to miss out. It's going to suck. Anyway, now that I've gotten the announcements out of the way, and now that I've talked to you about all the great things that are coming up, let's talk about our story. So, there was this little town in Georgia back in the 1900s. It was an all-black community called Oscar. And it was along the Chattahoochee River. Now, if you don't know about the Chattahoochee River, there is an Alan Jackson song I would recommend you listen to. I'll tell you a little bit about it. My grandparents actually owned land on the Chattahoochee. And I actually went out there and fished when I was a young lad, when I would go and visit them. And I don't know whatever happened to that property. I haven't been back there in decades, but it was a very beautiful river and a very large river. Anyway, in the 1950s, this area was dammed off, and this town, they basically evacuated this town and drove these people off, dammed an area off, and built a lake. In 1956, they finished construction on the dam and created Lake Lanier. Now, this lake was supposed to feed the reservoir that would feed Atlanta and everything like that. But it displaced an entire community of people. But they kind of left the whole town there and just kind of buried it underwater. If you've ever seen the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, that scene where they kind of flood the place and all the water comes through as they're getting ready to be hung and saves their lives. Yeah, kind of looked like that. So they didn't really go through and clear it out real well, or really announce really well. So there were some people that were caught in the floodwaters as they came through and kind of trapped them in this area that was being turned into a reservoir, just to hold water, a big lake reservoir. And they left everything down there. They didn't clear it out. They didn't go through and go, okay, we're going to clear this place out and make it a proper lake. No, they just left everything there. This is actually something that was really common in the 1900s. It happened here in South Carolina with a couple of lakes, Lake Moultrie, Lake Marion. They'd build the dam. They'd get as much of the stuff out as they could, and whatever was left, they just flood it with underwater. It's just underwater now. And so there's all kinds of stuff still down there in the water. It's amazing treasure hunters are down there trying to find stuff. Probably just started a new trend. Don't listen to that last part. Anyway, the lake began to have some instances. The most strange one was in 1958. Two women who were out for an evening on the town were coming back across the bridge there on Lake Lanier when their car went off the side and into the water. After a few years, one of their bodies was found, but the other was never found. Following that, it was said that a woman in a blue dress could be seen walking up and down the bridge and dragging people to their deaths along Lake Lanier. And since its construction, Lake Lanier has had over 200 deaths that have occurred in just this one lake. It is the deadliest lake in Georgia. And they attribute it to a lot of things. They attribute it to the fact that they left all of that stuff down there. But most of them attribute it to the two women that went over that bridge. Now, a lot of people said, no, this just can't be. It's not that. There was never a woman in a blue dress until the 1990s came around. During the 1990s, they were doing a project to update said bridge. And while they were down there, they found a car and pulled the car out. And in the car were the skeletal remains of a woman in a blue dress. Susie, the woman who was driving the car that went over and into the lake that day in 1958. And ever since then, her ghost has haunted the edge of the lake, drawing people in and drowning them. They claim all kinds of things to debunk this, but people have seen her in her blue dress walking, and the fact that when they pulled her out of the lake, she was still wearing the blue dress that was matching the description that everyone else had said, kind of gives a lot of credence to this story. I talk a lot about ghost stories where they say, oh, the person was wearing this, but it turns out that person never dressed like that. Vanya Fisher. But in this case, when they found the body, she was wearing that dress. And people who had seen it had never heard of her, never seen her. There's a woman in a blue dress walking around. Who's this woman in the blue dress? Oh, there's a woman in the blue dress sitting down at the bottom of the bridge. So, why am I talking about Lake Lanier? Why am I talking about this terrifying lake in Georgia? Well, not only have people been drawn into the lake, but there have been accounts of people just going out on the lake and just disappearing. They're considered dead. They're among the 200, but they just never come back. Their boats do, but they don't. And they vanish in the most mysterious ways. And usually, it's when going around where the town of Oscarville used to sit. Now, remember when I said they left a whole bunch of stuff down there? Well, a lot of what they left down there were graves and cemeteries. So while the woman in the blue dress is considered to be a menace to people on the edge of the water, it's what's under the water that is considered to be the most dangerous, because it is believed that the spirits of this community that were mistreated through lynchings and just all kinds of racial hate. Understand, this was an African American community, a black community in Georgia during the early 1900s, 1940s, 1950s. These people, if something was wrong, people from the other communities would come over and blame them for it, because it was their fault, obviously. It's how their minds work, even though we all know that's not true. This community was marginalized and treated so poorly that they were driven out of their homes for a lake to be built. And their belongings, their homes, their loved ones who they buried were all left there and disturbed by the waters as they flowed in and flooded. That's got to be a lot of angry spirits. And now it is believed that those spirits come back up and terrorize the people on the lake who are mistreating their resting place. So, Georgia's got a great idea. They want to build a water park on Lake Lanier. I haven't seen this horror movie yet, but I gotta say, just in commentary, this is one I'm actually looking forward to seeing. Because everybody that knows about Lake Lanier knows that it's someplace you just kind of don't mess around with. You know, thousands of tourists go there every year, and every year there are still at least 6 deaths. 200 since 1956. 200 people have died on that lake in less than 100 years, just over 50 years, honestly. Well, 60 years, honestly. Just over 60 years, 200 people have died. We'll be coming up on 70 years soon. Over 200 deaths, 6 to 7 a year. That's kind of a lot for a lake. I mean, Lake Moultrie gets 2 or 3 drownings a year, average, if that. And it's been around since the 1900s. Like, I'm not talking about, it's one of the earlier built lakes. The Cowrace Canal's been there for forever. It runs all the way down into Charleston. You know, we actually have a museum here that talks about how the original locks were built in the canal to help boats move before they built the lake, and how the locks that are there now work. These giant locks that close by the dam to lift boats up to the level of the lake. It's the same thing that they've got in the Panama Canal and other canals. You know, you move through a lock, you go up a lake. You know, we've had this stuff for the better part of a century here. Lake Lanier's been there for half a century, just over, almost 3/4 of a century, and has a lot more dead people. And they're building a water park. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Now, normally I come in and I go, hey, you know, let's look at some of these things and let's look at the stories and how this could be this and that could be that. But with Lake Lanier, the legend is pretty much the story. These 2 women did go missing, and they believe their car did go off the water into the lake on a late Saturday evening in 1958. They found the passenger about 2 years later. They found her body. She had somehow been ejected from the car, and she was found not far from the bridge, but they never found the car, and they never found Susie. So while it was believed that she went off the road, it was never known until the 1990s. And honestly, it's absolutely true. Oscarville was a real place in Georgia up until they built Lake Lanier. And Lake Lanier, of course, was named for a Confederate general or soldier or something. So, come on. That's just adding insult to injury when you destroy a black community and then you name the lake that you built on top of it after someone who basically fought to destroy black communities, basically. It's no wonder this lake is haunted. It's no wonder there are angry spirits there. And it's no wonder I'm not going to go boating on Lake Lanier. I'll stick to, places where there are less possibility of me dying, like, I don't know, center of a volcano. Okay? Lake Lanier is arguably the most haunted lake I've ever heard of. Not because of, the number of sightings, but because of the number of ghosts that are supposed to be there. There are generations of folks that were buried there whose remains were disturbed, and now they haunt the lake, along with the woman in the blue dress who went off the bridge. So if you're planning a vacation and you want to go somewhere spooky and you might not be able to come back, head on down to Lake Lanier, Georgia and have some fun. Anyway, folks, that's going to be our story for this episode. Hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you learned something. Hope that you're not going down there. But if you are, send me a postcard. Seriously. Send me a postcard. Let me know you went. Let me know if you saw anything. Go over to carolinastory.com, send me a message, be like, hey, John, I went to Lake Lanier, I saw a lady in a blue dress. My brother didn't come back with me. I'll be sorry about your brother, but I'll be really interested to know if you saw the lady in the blue dress. Anyway, folks, as a reminder, go over to thecarolinastoryteller.com to get all of the information on this episode and many more episodes. Find out about my guests, find out about my merch. The hat is awesome. I've got mine coming. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's going to go up on my wall. I think I might actually move Capsule Corp or Deadpool. I haven't decided yet. Do I move the Capsule Corp or let me get my finger right. The Capsule Corp or the Deadpool? Capsule Corp or Deadpool? I don't know yet. Maybe I should get rid of Avengers or Castlevania. If you guys want to tell me, send it in the comments on YouTube. Go to carolinastoryteller.com and tell me in the comments there, which hat should I replace with the Carolina Storyteller hat? Because it's got to go somewhere. Wait, I got a spot right here. This spot right here. We can put the Carolina Storyteller. No. Capsule could go there, Carolina Storyteller. We'll figure it out. Anyway, that's our show for today. carolinastoryteller.com, all your merch, all the information on the guests, all the information on the podcast. You can go to patreon.com/Carolina Storyteller, get in on our 50th episode giveaway, and be a part of the community. Live shows will be starting really soon, leading up to the live show that's going to be at Atomicon on May 4th and 5th. So I want to see you guys there. That's our show. Stay spooky, my friends. See you next time.